Hi, I'm Frederick, a founding engineer at Donobu, and today I'd like to show you how to use the Donobu MCP server. But first, let's take a quick look at what Donobu is. It all starts with Donobu Studio, our AI-driven, fully autonomous testing application. Just go to our website, donobu.com, and click the download link. Then select whichever platform is appropriate for your system. The first time you launch Donobu Studio, it'll ask you to enter the API key for your favorite LLM. In my case, I'll enter my Gemini API key. Once it's verified your key, you're ready to start testing. Your test can be as simple as go to google.com and then go to image search for fall leaves, and verify that the images returned are mostly yellow, orange, red, and brown. Or they could be as complicated as testing an entire complex flow of a multi-page website. As you can see, Donobu is automatically finding the image search link, knows where the search field is, enters the search term, and then the last step is it's validating. It's asserting that the images are mostly the colors that we want. Now, because it's AI driven, I could have just said verify that it's fall leaves, and it would have known what that meant as well. Here you see the complete test, all the steps that it took, including the assert, and finally, the final step is that it marks the objective as complete. You can also view and in fact export this test as a Playwright test. Here you see the test with page.goto, page.find, click, input text, all the usual Playwright features. But there's an extra feature we've got here, page.ai.assert. This is where the AI comes in. But let's get back to the MCP server. Suppose you've got a project. This is a to-do app that I vibe coded in about 30 minutes this morning, and you want to add a new feature to it. Now, since you've already vibe coded most of it, you might as well use Claude code for the rest of it. So what we want to do is we want to ask Claude to add a feature and test to make sure it works. Now, before we can use Donobu MCP, we do need to add it to our Claude code. There's instructions for how to do this on the NPM page. Basically, this is the part we need to add to our MCP servers, wherever that configuration lives. Now, for our case, since we're using Claude code, we can see that there's a place to put it in your home directory, or you can make it project specific. I'm going to choose this option. So I go back here, I add a file called mcp.mcp.json, and I'm going to go ahead and add this whole JSON file since there's nothing there right now. All right, let's close Claude code, open it up again, and now we can start. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask Claude to add a dark mode feature to this app by just adding a toggle to the page, but we're also going to ask it to verify that it works correctly. The page is mostly dark and all page elements are still legible. Now, if you were to write a test manually for this and you wanted to verify that dark mode was working correctly, what you might have to do is find some elements on the page, verify that the colors are correct, and that might be kind of tedious and frankly a little brittle. If your page changes and suddenly there's a new element that you want to make sure isn't black on black in dark mode, you might have to add to the test. In this case, all we need to do is let Donobu write the test. So first thing it's going to do, of course, is implement the feature. In my case, I have already added a bunch of things to Claude's whitelist, a bunch of bash commands it can run, and including the Donobu MCP server tools. But there will be some times, as you just saw, where I might have to approve some additional things. Now, I'm going to let this run for a while. We'll probably have to fast forward a bit. Let's see what happens. Ironically, I'm recording this in the evening, and my laptop is set to automatically switch to dark mode when it gets dark outside. So the IDE is turned to dark mode, but let's continue watching. Okay, at this point, the LLM has actually started my dev server, and now it's going to call the Donobu MCP. As you can see, same thing happens as if when we run a test from the studio. It launches a browser and starts thinking. Let me move that thinking thing so we can see the whole screen clearly. The first thing it's going to do is try to find where the dark mode button is. It clicks on the toggle, and now it can see that everything is in dark mode. It's going to do another verify like we did with the leaf colors, and then it's going to click again to change it back to light mode. In the background here, you can see that the LLM is occasionally pulling Donobu, asking the status of the test. It says, hey, looks like dark mode is working. Screenshot shows the app in dark mode. White text for the title, dark to-do items with legible text, dark input field, and there you go. We're done. At this point, it's going to request the status one last time, and it's going to say the test passed successfully. Let me update the to-dos. Boom! Validated dark mode. It'll summarize all the changes made. Now, if you ask Donobu to just run a simple test, it might actually prompt you whether you want to save that test in your current project. In this case, because it's just part of a larger set of instructions, it's not prompting me for that, but I can ask it to do that. So I could say, add the test run for dark mode to my project. There we go. Now it's generating the Playwright test, the same thing you saw from that code tab in Donobu Studio. And it's figuring out where in my project to put the test. Now if we go over here, look at darkmode.spec.ts, there it is. It's got page.ai.assert, make sure that the background color of the page is dark blue-gray. Assert that all the text elements of the page are legible. Assert that the to-do items have a dark background and their text is legible. And there you have it, folks. Donobu MCP Server adds a critical step to your developer workflow, verifying that your new feature works as expected. Whether you're the one writing the code or your LLM is, isn't it nice to have that additional assurance right there at your fingertips where you live and code? Thanks for joining me.